Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Oral Communication. I hope you guys had a nice Easter. And yeah, we're back for another week of online lectures. Just to remind you that your presentation is due April 30th. So you still have just a little more than 2 weeks from today. And anyway, so today what I really want to discuss is how to answer difficult questions. So of course, we're not going to be able to do this much because of our circumstances, because of the situation as it is. But nevertheless, so I'm still going to continue with my lectures, and somebody needs to actually teach you, or at least give you tips about how to answer a question that you really don't know the answer to. So let's get right into my lecture right now then. Okay, so when you come to the end of your presentation, hopefully you're going to get some questions. In my experience, I generally get a lot of questions that are very, very difficult to answer. And in fact, there's questions I just really don't know the answer to. But nevertheless, if anybody asks you a difficult question, or in fact any question at all, it's always important to thank the person for their question. Just say, thank you for your question, or that is a really good question. I'm really glad you asked it. Okay, so the reason we thank every question is, it's not just about being polite, okay, but it shows that you actually care about the topic, okay? But not just that, it's just that the question is valid, okay? So the person who asked you the question, you're telling that person, what a good question, okay? It's valid, okay? Platni, and it's appropriate. Ito vhodna, okay? It's suitable for, for the topic. Okay, so not only is it suitable for the for the topic and everything like that, but it also buys you a little bit of time. So if you say, thank you very much for your question, take a deep breath, look around the room, okay? Smile all the time. It's always important to, to smile, to be confident. And then, hopefully in that 5 seconds, the answer will pop into your mind. If it doesn't, don't panic, okay? I'm going to give you the language, that, or at least the words and phrases that you might need to know, or at least I think you should know, when you don't know the answer, and how to explain to the person asking the question that you don't know the answer, but you're willing to do something about it. So let's go on here. Okay, so really what I like to do is to actually clarify that I've understood the question, okay? Because even though I might have understood it, again, it's all about buying time and making sure that you are going to give the best and most suitable, most appropriate answer, okay? So yeah, like I said, it can buy some time. So you can say, so if I understand you correctly, you are asking me if, or you can just say, just to make sure I give you the correct answer, are you saying that if, and what you want to do is you want to paraphrase the speaker. Okay, so it gives you some more time then. You basically, thank you very much for your question. I'm very happy that you asked it. If I heard you correctly, you are asking me blah, 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 okay? Or, thank you very much. I'm really glad you asked me that question. If I understood you correctly, I believe you are asking, and then you want to ask the question again. It's like rephrasing the question. And so you're kind of turning the whole table around. Basically, the person has asked you a question and you're asking that person again. Not only does it give you time, it gives the questioner, the person asking the question, to even simplify the question, okay? So maybe they're going to change their wording or just make it easier. Maybe they sense that, yeah, maybe I didn't ask that, as clearly as possible. So if I ask it another way, then, maybe I'll get the correct, or not the correct, the best answer that that I'm looking for. Okay, so it becomes like an interaction, and you're establishing a relationship between yourself and the questioner. Okay, so if it really comes down to it that you just don't know the answer, so here are three options that I've got written down for you guys. So let's have a look at them. I'm just going to get a little bit closer. Okay, so look at this one here. Yeah, you need to admit, okay, priznat sa, that you don't know the answer, but you can turn it over to the audience for help, okay? So, for example, you can say, I'm afraid, obavam sa, that isn't my area of expertise, but I am sure someone else here may know the answer to that. Can anyone help answer that question? The only thing, that I find difficult with this, it's okay to, it's not bad at all to answer or to ask the audience for help. The only thing is you don't want to sound desperate, zufali, okay? So be careful with that one then. You can admit that someone you work with would be better suited to answer that, okay? And you will consult with them and you will get back to the person, okay? To the person asking the question. So here's a great way to word it. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer for that now, but I have a colleague that can answer that question. Can we meet after the presentation and exchange contact details? I will then ask him and get you the answer right away. Okay, so one thing I've always recommended is that, when you go and make a presentation, always bring a colleague with you, okay? If that's possible. If not, then, you're going to have to, use your own resources. But if you have somebody from your department or a supervisor in the audience, okay, you can answer the question, exactly the same way, saying, I'm sorry, I must admit that I don't know the answer to this question. However, my supervisor or my colleague introduce that person and have them answer the question. You kind of make what's called, it's a French word, it's called a rapport, okay? A rapport is a relationship, okay? So the person asking the question, yourself, and now suddenly there's a third person involved. You're having a conversation, almost a mini conference, about the question that's being asked, okay? So I've always believed that having somebody with you, can save you in those moments, because you don't want to be embarrassed, okay? Also, never lie, okay? So, if you don't know the question, if you don't know the answer to the question, don't make something up. Don't vimyslet anything, okay? Just take that deep breath and say, I'm sorry, to be honest, I really don't know the answer to that question. However, I'm working on it at the moment, or in the future, once I've finished this part of the research, then yes, I will be able to answer that question at that time. Okay, but for the moment, okay, it's not within my scope. Okay, ito mimo moje competenciae, and you just have to let the questioner know that at this time you don't have an answer. Okay, so sometimes the question is so difficult and it's so confusing. Sometimes it's even kind of private, okay? Because or I don't mean private that it's about your private life, but sometimes it's just not so appropriate. You get questions that are a little bit off topic. Like mimotemi, okay? They're still within the topic, but they're not quite, they're not quite oriented, towards the topic that's being presented, okay? So you have sometimes that happens very often. So you can answer it saying, I think it would be better if I got a little more information from you, okay, to help answer that question. can we meet after the presentation at lunch? Okay, I would be happy to get you more information then. Okay, so I mean, this is just one example. Okay, but I really like what I've got here then. Okay, so for example, if somebody, this is kind of business oriented, but you know, it's valid even now. Okay, these days when I watch the news, when I watch Tea Troika, and you know, Prime Minister Matovic is standing there answering a lot of questions at the press conference. Okay, you know, a lot of the journalists ask, do you have the latest forecast figures? Okay, you know, it's like the predpoved, just like the weather forecast. Figures are numbers. Okay, čísla. Okay, so they're always asking, do you have the latest forecast figures for something? Most of the time, in fact, all of the time, the prime minister is updated, okay? But there are times that, yeah, okay, maybe he doesn't have the information just yet. Again, thank you. Thanks for your question. Always say thank you. Again, you want to clarify the given, you know, or you want clarification, okay, given by the person who asked the question. So just to make sure I give you the correct answer, are you asking for the forecast sales figures, or are you asking for the forecast figures on the coronavirus, okay, for the whatever location and so on? Okay, so you're just going to ask the question again, okay? And the person asking it will say either yes or no. And, you know, most of the time they're just going to simplify. They're going to say, or they're going to ask the question a second time in simpler terms. Okay. This continues. Okay. First of all, you clarify, and then you can say, unfortunately, I don't have the answer for that now, but I have a colleague who can answer that question. Okay. Remember, if you're the prime minister, if you're Mr. Matovic, you're going to send, you know, the Minister of Health or, you know, the hygiene specialist, you know, all those experts, okay? And they're going to, you know, help you answer, you know, that question, okay? And again, you can say, can we meet after the presentation and exchange contact details, okay? All right, so then I will ask him or her, you know, my colleague, and get you the answer right away. So when the person agrees, okay, say, great, thanks for the question. Any other questions? And then you can move on. Okay, so having done all that, you know, like, you know, say thank you to the person asking the question, ask for clarification, either admit you don't know the answer or you're working on it at you know, at the time. You can either ask somebody from the audience if they know the answer to the question, or if there's anybody out there that might be able to help you with clarification. Or as I suggested, you know, bring somebody with you, you know, like a supervisor or a coworker, and, you know, they can step in and you know, it's called fielding the question, okay? It means that they're going to take over and you're going to build that rapport with that audience member. Okay, but sometimes, okay, I'm going to show you a video right now. It's kind of funny. You might do all of that stuff, but you might not come across as the most intelligent person. So have a look at this video clip here.
My first question is, you said that you don't take responsibility, but you did disband the White House Pandemic Office, and the officials that were working in that office left this administration abruptly. So what responsibility do you take to that? And the officials that worked in that office said that the White House lost valuable time because that office wasn't disbanded. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think it's a nasty question, because what we've done is, and Tony has said numerous times that we've saved thousands of lives because of the quick closing. And when you say me, I didn't do it. We have a group of people. I could ask perhaps my administration, but I could perhaps ask Tony about that, because I don't know anything about it. I mean, you say we did that. I don't know anything about it.
You don't know about the reorganization that happened at the National Security Council.
It's the administration. Perhaps they do that. You know, people let people go. You used to be with a different newspaper than you are now. You know, things like that happen.
But this was
Please go ahead. We're doing a great job. Let me tell you, these professionals behind me.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Okay. You got to admit, he had Tony, he had his advisor right there. Okay. He said, I don't know. Do you know? Like, um, but he did it very hastily. There were no pauses. Okay. He didn't choose his words correctly. And in fact, actually, he just kind of like brushed the reporter to the side. Next question, please. We're doing a great job. Okay. So that is a classic way of, not, responding to, not responding well to the questioner. Okay, I'm just going to say thank you for today. I'm going to put on one last video. It's a cartoon. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes long. And it demonstrates, what to do, when you get a question or even a persistent questionnaire. Sometimes people are like machine guns, like Samopalvi. They'll ask you 2 or 3 questions all at once, okay? The video that I'm going to show you right now, it's really, really good in the fact that it explains how to deal with difficult people, okay? So try to imagine that you can have somebody like Donald Trump in the audience asking you a question or asking you several questions, and how you're going to deal with such an individual. Okay, thank you very much for everything. I hope this video was a bit helpful for you guys today. Again, your presentations April 30th. If you have any problems whatsoever about presenting on a video form, by all means, write to me, send me an email, and we'll find an alternative way of making the presentation, okay? I know it's very difficult. It's a very strange time for all of us, but I've spoken to, or I shouldn't say I've spoken to, I've been emailing Pani Vedutsa, the head of the language department, as well as Pani Prodekanka, the pro-dean or the vice dean, okay, who is also looks after the languages. And so this was the best solution that we came up with. But by all means, I am the course lecturer, okay? I have the final say. So if there is if you do have any difficulties, making a video presentation, by all means, write me, and we'll find, we'll come up with an alternative way, of getting your presentation presented. Okay. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Have a nice week. Bye-bye.
Handling difficult questions during Q&A can come up. It's very important that you be prepared for certain types of difficult questions. The first type of difficult question is when you don't know the answer. My recommendation is simply say, "I don't know," and immediately follow it up with what you will do to get the information to the asker. If you happen to have a hunch or an idea of what the answer would be, simply say, "I don't know the answer. I'll follow up and get the answer to you as soon as I can, but my hunch is the answer might sound like this." In that way, you come off as at least having an idea and frame what the answer might be like to set expectations for the audience member. Another challenging type of question is where the question asker asks several questions one after the other. I call this machine gun questioning. This can be very rattling simply because you have to take in all of the different questions. What I like to do is either pick 1 or 2 that I remember and answer them, or if I'm feeling particularly cantankerous, I might ask the question asker to repeat the question. Often they cannot repeat all of the questions that they asked, in which case they typically prioritize and then you answer those questions. There are times where individuals don't actually ask a question, they make a statement. This could be because they don't quite know how to ask their question, or it might be that they want to show that they know a lot about what you're speaking on and they try to take the floor from you. In this situation, both you and your audience are likely very uncomfortable. I highly recommend that as soon as you can, you take the floor away from the person who is speaking. The best way to do this is simply when the person takes a breath to paraphrase what it is they've said and create a question for them. If you're speaking in front of them, it's also to your benefit to reorient yourself in the room. So instead of looking at the person, as soon as you paraphrase and create a question for them, turn yourself to take a question from another part of the audience. Most people understand that this means they're done. Finally, what happens when you get a question loaded with emotion? Maybe somebody's upset or somebody's very scared or concerned based on what you're talking about. You must acknowledge their emotion without naming it. If you try to name their emotion and get it wrong, the person can get upset. For example, if you say, "You sound very angry about this," they could say, "I'm not angry, I'm frustrated." So it's best to acknowledge the emotion in generic terms, such as, "It seems you have a lot of passion on this topic," or "I hear that there's great concern in your voice," and then go ahead and paraphrase the question. You need to acknowledge the emotion. It's there, the person's feeling it, and everyone else in the room is experiencing it. Handling challenging questions is difficult, but if you're prepared and know that you have some tools, you can survive the difficult questions, retain your credibility, and actually make your audience feel comfortable.